We have another full meeting today, and we will start with an invocation by John Barnett, President, Barnett Dental Group, followed by the national anthem played by Wesley Gentle of Arts Fort Worth. John?
Let us pray. We gather here today acknowledging the existence of the divine. It is within this providence that we seek guidance and strength to love our neighbor as ourselves and to put service to others above our own self-interest. Empower us as we endeavor to hold true to our four-way test, and in doing so, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who will trespass against us. Let us not take for granted the fertile ground manifesting within this Rotary Club of downtown Fort Worth. It is to your glory that we grow together side by side within the light of your love. This is the day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. But within this day, as a club, let us continue to sow the thoughts that will reap our actions. Let us continue to sow the actions that will reap our habits. Let us continue to sow the habits that will reap our character. And let us continue to sow the character that will reap our desired destiny. These are our petitions. These are our supplications. We pray them by faith with great expectation and anticipation. Amen. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, John and Wesley. Here to welcome our guest is Andrea Ash, President and CEO of the Fort Worth Library Foundation. Andrea?
Thank you, Ann. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a really good problem to have. We have so many guests today that instead of naming everyone off in lieu of time, I've been asked just to ask all of the guests who are here today to please stand and be acknowledged. Welcome to Rotary. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. It's now time for the four-way test. Written by Rotarian Herbert J. Taylor in 1932, the four-way test is as applicable now as it was 94 years ago. Please join me as we describe the guidelines for how we live, act, and work. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. You know, every day is full of news, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, and we've had our fair share of the bad and the ugly lately. So here with a lighter look at the news is past President Rachel Marker, Healthcare Strategic Account Executive, Miller Knoll. Rachel.
Thank you for that warm winter welcome. I feel about as welcome as the film Melania at the Oscars. I haven't been up here in a while, long enough that a few of you look exactly the same. On to national news. Americans are trying to improve their happiness by spending less, reducing screen time, and minimizing waste, none of which makes Jeff Bezos very happy. Experts say aging Americans are trying to find balance between work and life and remembering where they parked. I'm not convinced that balance is working because productivity apps are booming. Apparently, we need more technology to help manage more of the technology that manages more of our lives. And by the way, where did I park at? Or where did you park at? You know, there's an app for that. In sports news, we somehow have the trifecta this week: the Olympics, the Super Bowl, and the closing weekend of the rodeo. The Olympics start tonight. Nothing brings humanity together like watching elite athletes perform superhuman feats while we sit on our sofas eating Cheetos, drinking beer, and saying, honestly, I could do that. I just need to stretch a little bit more, train a little bit more, and there's an AI that can help me out. You know you're watching the Olympics when you start saying, I don't know very much about curling or bobsledding, but I feel very strongly about that sport, and I'm willing to argue about it with you. And Super Bowl 2026 matches two teams, the legendary New England Patriots and the mighty Seattle Seahawks that, quite frankly, nobody in Texas cares about. Go Frogs. And sadly, the rodeo wraps up this weekend, which means half the city has a cold and the other half is wondering how long do boots and corduroy serve as business casual. And let's be honest, nothing says Fort Worth like cheering for livestock while eating something that recently was livestock. In cultural news, nostalgia is back. Vinyl records are back. Film cameras are back. Handwritten notes are back. At this rate, and about 3 weeks away from the rotary phone making a comeback. See what I did there? Fashion trends recycle every decade, which means if you hold on to your clothes long enough, you're vintage. Andy Turtleneck Taft is a trendsetter. In technology news, every week there's a new tool promising to change everything. I'm waiting for programmers to invent a system that prevents someone from hitting reply all on that message that clearly should have been private. Because nothing destroys productivity faster than a reply all email about yesterday's colonoscopy. Lieutenant Colonel, that's the definition of workplace weapon of mass destruction. Productivity experts say the key to success is focus and sleep, which is interesting because most of us could measure our attention span by how many browser tabs we have open. But the good news is AI can write emails that sound like we've gotten 8 hours of sleep. And speaking of impressive technology, today's speaker is from Lockheed Martin, which means we're about to hear from someone whose day job sounds like a Taylor Sheridan show. I read his bio and saw the phrase weapons of mass destruction and thought, wow, Rotary is really stepping up their speaker qualifications. Thank you, Colonel Bardot, for your service and for joining us today. And lastly, the weekend is going to be amazing. Hope to see you out on the trails. Until then, cheers, ciao, and hasta luego.
Thank you, Rachel. I'd now like to call to the stage Carol Del Real and Nolan Traeger. Some of you may recall that this year the Rotary Club of Fort Worth has a district grant which we decided to use to provide a scholarship for a baseball player at TCU. You may also recall that to receive that grant, we needed to match it with additional funds on a dollar-for-dollar basis. We turned to our good friend and former Rotarian, Carol Del Riel, who was already providing a baseball scholarship, and she agreed to provide the match. So it worked out great for both of us, and maybe for Nolan too. And today, I am pleased to introduce to you the TCU Horned Frog, who is the recipient of the Rotary Genovese Foundation Scholarship this year, Nolan Traeger. Nolan is a sophomore at TCU and the catcher on the baseball team. Last year, he started 43 games and ranked third on the team with a .327 batting average. He drove in 17 runs, had a record 14 multi-hit games, and 4 multi-RBI contests. He posted a .995 fielding percentage and led the team with 3 pickoffs, homering for his first career hit in his collegiate debut. Nolan was named to the 2025 Big 12 All-Freshman Team, second team All Big 12 Conference, was a second team Perfect Game Freshman All-American, and was invited to the 2025 USA Baseball Collegiate National Team, which is all to say, he's really good. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Nolan Traeger and to welcome back Carol Del Riel. We have something for both of you, and I apologize, Nolan, because normally it's a certificate, but we ran out of those, so we had to find you something to present to you in recognition of your scholarship. I don't think you can hit a home run with this, but I do hope you'll think of Rotary and the Genovese Foundation when you're playing frog ball. And we have one for you. Let's give another big horned frog, go frogs, to these two. Thank you both. All right, it is now my pleasure to introduce Siobhan Hamilton, CEO and publisher. Siobhan, are you here? Siobhan, right here. The CEO and publisher of the Business Press, who has an update on the Richard L. Knight Rotary Minority Business Awards. Siobhan.
Thank you, President Ann. I have the responsibility today to come and share on behalf of the committee for the RLK Rotary Minority Business Awards. And we are seeking from fellow Rotarians, anyone who would like to volunteer as an advocate in support of the event. The responsibility and role of the advocate will be simply to reach out to several applicants and encourage them, or several nominees, and encourage them to fill out the application for, to be considered for the, one of the awards. So again, we're asking that those of you who will, if you will volunteer, you can definitely contact Rosa, and I think she'll give you whatever specific guidelines that's needed. It looks like you'll only be reaching out to maybe 3, maybe to 5 people to reach out just to encourage them. And so any efforts that you put in towards it will be greatly appreciated. And lastly, I'd like to just say that we are still seeking and in need of anyone who would like to become a sponsor for the event. You're more than welcome to do so, and we feel like it'll be a great return on your investment. If for nothing else, making a special moment for the recipients. So again, we thank you on behalf of the committee. Thank you. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Siobhan. And just a reminder, the deadline for application has been extended until February 15th. So if you miss that deadline, you've got a reprieve until next week. And now it's my pleasure to make a grant presentation. It is because of your gifts to the Rotary Endowment and the Rotary Children's Fund that we are able to provide grants to worthy nonprofits in Fort Worth. The LTV Rise Revitalization Project, known as LTV Rise, is a collaboration and partnership of private companies, human service organizations, and government agencies dedicated to helping residents of the Las Vegas Trail area improve their neighborhood and day-to-day lives. In response to the devastating crime, unemployment, and educational challenges in the LVT area, the organization works to alter the trajectory of lives of the residents living in the area and focuses resources for both sustained change and immediate positive impact to life. It's my pleasure to present a check for LVT Rise to Paige Charbonnet. Paige.
Thank you so very much.
All right, smile pretty. Got it. Love it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paige. All right. And now, Rotary is growing. Today, we are pleased to introduce 2 new members. First up to introduce one of our new members is Rosa Maria Verdeja, followed by Rachel Capua with the introductions. Rosa?
Thank you, Madam President. Oh, there's a timer up here. That's new. Okay. I better hurry. When I joined Rotary, my presenter was our dear friend, the late Richard Knight. And the week before my introduction, he invited me to brunch. He wanted some time with me, chatting, getting to know me better, so that he could be properly prepared for my introduction. And during that brunch, we talked about my favorite subject, me, and he so graciously let me go on and on. He listened to my story, and in doing so, he made me feel truly valued and special. And so I wanted to recreate that same feeling for others. And in preparation for today, I invited Juan Manuel to lunch. And he too graciously let me go on and on about me. But I did learn that he was born and raised in Colombia. And after earning his bachelor's degree in electronic engineer, he came to the United States to attend the University of Texas at Dallas, where he earned a master's in microelectronics. Today, he is a real estate broker and owns Maverick Realtors Group. And during our one-on-one time, we bonded over our shared experiences of small business ownership, both the exhilarating highs and the ever-challenging lows. But what truly stood out to me from our conversation was his profound appreciation for human connections. He speaks so fondly of his family, his employees, his clients, and demonstrating a genuine love for helping others. Whether it's guiding someone for the purchase of their first home or supporting someone in danger of losing their home, Juan Manuel embodies compassion and dedication, and it shows it in everything that he does. He understands that these connections are vital and just not just for celebrating the highs, but also for navigating those lows that come along from time to time. His commitment to fostering relationships makes him a perfect addition to our Rotary family, and I have no doubt that his dedication to service and the belief in the power of community will enrich our club and inspire us all. So please join me in giving Juan Manuel Acosta a warm Rotary welcome.
Fun fact or information about me? Okay, hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I'm so glad this is not the first time that I speak in public, otherwise I would be in panic. So pretty much Rosie already talked about my past and what I do right now. I feel very blessed to be here. I'm very grateful to be part of this organization, and I hope that I can make a difference, create connections, and represent the club and forward the best that I could. The fun fact about me, so when I was 16 years old, I got a job and my main focus was to buy a brand new bicycle. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work for it. I ended up getting a job in a warehouse. My job was to help customers find parts. And one day, while I was helping a client, the stack of plywood came towards me. At that time, I had two options. I can move, but I saw a little girl behind me, or I can pretend to be a hero, so I played the hero. I was able to stop the wood, but my right femur was under the plywood and just snapped like a finger. Years later, after surgeries, after 2 rods and multiple visits to the doctor and using crutches, I was able to recover fully. And right after I was able to walk again without no aids, the first thing that I did was go and buy the bicycle. Today, I'm still a bicycle. I love it. I have the rule for people who has bicycles is always to have +1. So you're always trying to buy a new one. And again, I'm really happy to be here. And thank you everyone for the warm introduction and for having me here today.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. So good to see everybody. It is a joy and an honor to introduce one of our newest members to Rotary. It is my pleasure to share a little bit about Dr. Shadi Kalani. One reason for this is I genuinely believe that higher education and Tarrant County College, in particular TCC, is a safety net for our community. It's one that's been here for 50, 60 years, and anytime we can introduce a colleague to this club in particular is a gift, especially from where he comes from. I'll share a little bit about him. He is the Dean of Health, Business, and Industry at Tarrant County College, where he leads programs that prepare students for careers in healthcare, in business, in high-demand industry fields across those many areas. Also, many of whom, the students that they serve, first generation and their families to pursue a college education, and many of whom are working adults. A key focus of Dr. Kalani's area is working and building real pathways, many of which I know are industries and businesses in this very room, and education to employment. The pipelines that we know build our city and our community. This work centers on opportunity, on service, on access, and long-term impact, and we know that his commitment and his heart for those values align closely. Dr. Kalani is thoughtful, he is collaborative, he is someone who knows the power of mentorship and giving back to the community it serves. Let's welcome our newest member, Dr. Shadi Kalani.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's an honor to join the Fort Worth Rotary Club. As you heard, I serve as the Dean of Health, Business, and Industry at Tarrant County College, where my focus is on both workforce education and academic pathways, helping students gain skills and creating opportunities as well as partnerships with universities and employers. I wanted to join Rotary because I believe in service that strengthens the community in practical ways. Through education, workforce development, and partnerships that create real opportunities for people and for our region. That mission aligns closely with the work I care about and the work I get to do every day. An interesting fact about me is that I started in biomedical research. My published work was actually on starch digestion in shrews. And today, I spend my time building workforce and academic pathways. It's a pretty different world, but the common thread is still problem solving and helping people move forward. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and exploring ways we can work together and serve Fort Worth and the region. Thank you again for the warm welcome.
Here's your,
Oh, my bag?
yes, your bag.
Y'all are much like each other. I love it. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shadi. Well, welcome to Rotary, Juan Manuel and Shadi. We're glad you're part of Rotary, and I hope you enjoy your membership in this club and find it rewarding. And if you have friends or colleagues that are interested in joining, please see our membership co-chairs, either Deanna Stewart or Rebecca Montgomery, and they can tell you how to make that happen. Serving as our chairman of the day is past President Andy Taft, president of downtown Fort Worth, and he's going to be introducing our guest speaker. Andy. Thank you.
I thank you, and my wardrobe thanks you. This timer is new, and it's very intimidating. But today's guest speaker, wait a minute. Boop. Today's guest speaker is Colonel Tyler Hefty Bardo. Colonel Bardo is the Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Strategy and Business Development Director, Capture Management for the F-35 program. Capture Management means that he's responsible for business development and interaction with the United States government for domestic purchases of the F-35. Hefty got his nickname. You know what? Let's let him tell that story. In Tyler's bio, you'll see that he was a fighter pilot, a group and squadron commander, a trainer, and had a host of other Marine Corps duties. His long and distinguished military career includes more than 2,200 flight hours, 480 of which were in actual combat. That's almost 25% of his military flight time in a combat scenario. He's held senior staff positions in private industry, the Marine Corps Aviation Headquarters, and the Office of the Secretary of Defense, all of which uniquely qualify him for his position at Lockheed Martin. He has a BA in biology, a master's in national security and strategic studies from the Naval War College, and from the National War College, National Defense University. He has a second master's in national security and strategic studies with a concentration in weapons of mass destruction. Nice tie-in, Rachel. Good. Colonel Bardo, I speak for the entire Rotary Club of Fort Worth when I say, thank you so much for being on our side, and welcome to the podium.
Just in case. Hopefully I won't kick that down. All right, there's my timer. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to speak here on behalf of Lockheed Martin and the F-35 program. As a new Texan, it's an honor to be here speaking to you, and you may wonder how did this, I wonder sometimes how this former Buckeye ended up here talking to the Fort Worth Rotary Club. So I'm going to take a second to reflect on that story. My wife, Lori, who's sitting here at the head table, born and raised Texan. She's from a little town, you may have heard of it, it's called Terrell. It's just out east of Dallas. She was, of course, there before it was known for the Buc-ee's that it's now famous for. But we met somewhat on a blind date in 2007. I came out here with a friend of mine. Of course, she immediately fell in love with me, and we were married soon after. I'm kidding, I fell in love with her as well. In fact, I think she'll tell you the opposite. I chased her more than she chased me. And right about that time, I was at the end of my first enlistment, or my first commitment to the Marine Corps. And I was thinking about getting out. So when she moved to the booming town of Yuma, Arizona, in the middle of the night, I snuck her in so she didn't see how terrible of a place it was. I told her, hey, I'm only gonna be in a little while longer. We'll get out, we'll move back to Texas. I'll get a job with maybe Southwest or American, and we'll live this great life in Texas. But there's this one small little piece. I put this package in for this new airplane, this thing called the F-35, but they're not going to take many people. There's really no chance that I'm going to get it. So you're safe. We'll end up back in Texas soon. So right just before Christmas in 2008, my commanding officer came down and he said to me, "Congratulations." He used some foul language that I won't say. And he said, you got selected for the F-35. And so I had to go home right before Christmas and give my wife that bad news that in fact we were not going to go back to Texas and I was going to stay in the Marine Corps a little bit longer and get a chance to fly this amazing airplane that I'm going to tell you about today. So a year ago I retired from the Marine Corps and I moved back here. So after all these years I kept my promise and I brought my wife back to Texas. So here we are. And I'll just take a moment to thank her, one, for riding along with me for all those years while I got to do my dream, fly airplanes and lead Marines and do all those great things. Give me two beautiful children, and I kept my promise, and here we are back, and now we're Texans. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it. All right. Our first date, which I think we slightly disagree with this, was actually at Piranha Killer Sushi, which is right down the way. So, which is kind of interesting that we just brought that up today. So, okay, I guess I have the slides. I'm already behind timeline on slides. So there we go. There I am. It's a really great picture. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Lockheed Martin. And today, I'm going to give you this from the perspective of being an F-35 pilot. So I'll talk a little bit about the business. I'll talk a little bit about what we do here in Fort Worth. But I'm going to give you my perspective on why this airplane is so special and what we're doing with it, with the men and women who are flying it currently. So on behalf of Mr. Greg Ulmer, the president of Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, thank you for your interest in our company and, of course, the F-35 program. So I'll tell you a little bit about specifically here, aeronautics. Lockheed's a big company. There's several different branches, but here in aeronautics, it's really four major sections. First is the F-35 program. It's a very, very large program, so we have our own individual pipeline there where we work just specifically on that program. You can see the other ones are a little bit more combined. The second one is the Integrated Fighter Group, which is our F-16 and our F-22 portfolio, as well as our T-50 and our T-2 trainers that are efforts with some coalition partners. We have our air mobility systems. We're still making the KC-130 platform in Marietta, Georgia, and the C5 and the P3 are still airplanes that we support actively flying today. And of course, the legendary Advanced Development Project, the Skunk Works, that you've all probably heard and seen. Certainly if you watch the Top Gun movie, you've seen some of the Skunk Works, well, not a real airplane, but of course one that we've developed for the movie. But some of the more famous airplanes, the U-2, the SR-71 Blackbird, and of course the F-117 Nighthawk that did so well in Desert Storm. They also manage some of our advanced projects and our hypersonic weapons portfolio. Okay, just a historical perspective for Fort Worth. Can I get a show of hands of anybody who has either family members or themselves that maybe they worked at Lockheed Martin? So pretty good amount. So those of you, so thank you for what you do, and you probably have heard all this as you've been to the Air Force Plant 4. Air Force Plant 4 has been in continuous operation since April 18th, 1942. The land that was actually donated to entice the War Department at the time to build bombers. There are 3 other plants built like it around the country, but as the folklore that we like to talk about is that there was 25 extra feet of building material donated to that plant so that we can be just slightly larger than the other 2 plants in the country, because of course, everything must be bigger in Texas. So that's exactly right. Yes, sir. You nailed it. So a total of 7.4 million square feet, which I'm happy to say that about 5.5 million of that is actually air conditioned, which is very nice in Texas. The plant is also in the National Register of Historic Places. It was originally a plant that built bombers. During World War II, we built 3,034 B-24s during the war. And at that time, 30,000 people worked in that plant, a third of which were women, the world famous Rosie the Riveter. And I will tell you, as a Marine, if you ever come to the plant, we have one of those rivet guns that made Rosie the Riveter famous, and I promise you, it is heavier than any automatic weapon that I ever carried in the Marine Corps. So that is a testament to those women and those men as well that were building those airplanes. We also built the B-32 Dominator, which was the first airplane that could go all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. We built the B-58 Hustler, which was of course these are not all Lockheed, I apologize, but these were all built here in Fort Worth. The B-58 Hustler was the first supersonic bomber, very neat airplane. The F-111 Aardvark, which I met somebody who worked on the F-111 today or was around. So that was a fighter bomber, our first smaller airplane that was in service with the Air Force, and then our friends in Australia. And then, of course, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, or as what we like to call it, the Viper, that we built here in Fort Worth until 2017. 26 airplanes per month were coming out of the factory, and the last aircraft was number 4,588. So a ton of F-16s coming out of here. We also built the center section of the F-22. Okay, today, this is what it looks like for those of you who have never been to the plant. It's one of the neatest things that you'll ever see, and a really testament to American manufacturing. We're the largest of 3 final acceptance and checkout facilities, or what we call FACOs, for the F-35. The other 2 are in Cameri, Italy, and in Nagoya, Japan. Combined, we produce 156 jets each year, and last year we delivered 191. In the plant today, we produce all 3 variants of the airplane, the A model, the B model, and the C model, which I'll talk to you in a second. We also produce all countries that are currently building the F-35, all right next to one another. So as you're walking down the plant, you could see an A model for the United States Air Force, you could see a B model for Japan, and you could see a C model for the United States Navy or the Marine Corps. And here in Fort Worth, we make the forward cockpit section and the wing structures and the actual skins. And then the other 3 sections are brought together for that final assembly. And then we take the airplane, we paint the airplane. We also check every airplane that leaves here to make sure that it meets the stealth signature that we want it to have, so that we know that when it gets to the fleet, it is the absolute most survivable airplane that we can give to our warfighters. We produce about 3 aircraft per week, and that's 5 times more than any other fighter production facility in the world. Okay, so where are we at right now, program at a glance? We're 20 global participants in the program. We've flown over 1 million flight hours, and I can tell you that if you look at the safety statistics, we're safer than any other airplane that's out there that's a fighter. We've delivered over 1,300 airplanes. We've trained over 3,000 pilots, which I'm arrogantly going to say that I'm number 96. So and I'll tell you why that's important here in just a second. And over 20,000 maintainers. There's 16 services flying the airplane, several of which have declared either IOC, which is initial operating capability, or FOC, which is full operating capability, so fully combat capable. And you can see our bases and stations there, where we're 39 of 58 bases stood up to fly the airplane, and I'll show you that on a chart in just a second. And we have multiple ships that are capable of carrying the airplane. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the differences of the 3. I flew the B, the one in the middle, of course, the best looking one of all of them. The one on the far left is the A model. It's the conventional takeoff and landing variant. If you look, what makes it unique is it's the only one with an internal gun, and it's 9G capable. Thankfully, I never had to do that. Well, only had to do it a couple times, and it was not fun. The middle is the B model, the Stovall variant, and that stands for short takeoff, vertical lift. It looks very similar to the A model. If you saw them airborne, if it's about 1,000 feet or higher, almost indistinguishable, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I can't even tell the difference. It has the ability to take off from short runways, think less than 4,000 feet, and land vertically on an amphibious ship or in a confined area. It's flown by the United States Marine Corps, the UK, Italy, Japan, and Singapore. On the far right is the C model, the carrier variant, which is flown by the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps. What's unique is that it has a larger wing than the other 3, and that allows it to have a reduced speed as it approaches the back of the aircraft carrier. It also gives it the benefit of having more gas, which allows it to go a very, very, very long way, farther than any other fighter without tanks, without external drop tanks. What I will tell you about these airplanes, and I unfortunately have not flown all 3, but if you ask a pilot who has, they'll tell you when they get in the cockpit, the only difference is the book they carry for the emergency procedures. The cockpits are exactly the same. The mission systems and the way you fight the airplane is exactly the same, and that's for the US services, for all 3 variants, and for all of our partner countries, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Even the button that turns the airplane into the Stovall mode and opens all those doors is the same button that when you push it puts the hook down on the C model. They're exactly the same. I'll tell you a little bit about what I think makes this airplane so special, what truly makes it unique. Fighter performance, like most other jets, Mach 1.6, which some will say some jets go faster, but I'll have to tell you, Mach 1.6 is very fast, and it's very good for employment. It's a high G jet, 9 Gs. Thankfully, again, the B model only was about 7.5, so it kept my back at least in one piece for most of to this day. It's a low observable airplane, which means stealth. And I can't talk about relative sizes because that would make this conversation classified, and of course we're not going to do that today. But what I want you to take away is that stealth gives us the ability to delay or deny our enemy's ability to target with us with any of their weapon systems. And it allows us to get close into the target, identify that target, which is probably the most important part, and employ our weapons before they can even see us. That provides us access to do the things we need to do. Sensors on the airplane, this is one of the things that makes it the most special. It's multispectral, and what I mean by that is that there are numerous systems on the airplane that allow me to see and gain situational awareness to what's around me. The most impressive of which is the radar on the nose of the airplane, the APG-81. We have the most advanced radar in fighter aviation. It's able to track ground and targets from long ranges away and in all weather. It's also able to make a very high-definition synthetic map of the ground, so I can find a target, I can identify that target in all weather conditions at long ranges, and then strike that target if required. It has a very sophisticated electronic warfare system, and what that means is there are several arrays around the airplane that allow us to hear signals that come in from the ground or from the air. And those signals could be an enemy radar, an enemy fighter that's trying to target me. Those arrays, working with the radar as well in the front, that array, it allows me to passively find where that system is coming from, and I can either avoid it or I can target that system. It also has the electronic optical targeting system. If you look at the airplane, there's a glass faceted, a piece of faceted glass on the nose. Just you can't really see it in this picture. You can barely see it under this picture in the green. And that is a traditional targeting pod. It's an infrared camera that I can look around and find things on the ground, also in the air. And I could use, it has a laser designator that I can use to guide a weapon to that target. And then probably one of my favorite sensors, and one that gets talked about the most, is the distributed aperture system. And it's 6 cameras mounted around the airplane. And those cameras are used to track anything that is thermally significant. So think of a missile launch, or we've even used it to track SpaceX rocket launches from long distances because it tracks the heat of that rocket motor. But one of the neat things about it is it's in the infrared environment, and I can, when I'm wearing my helmet, that big gigantic helmet that I have on, and you'll see it here in a picture, that I have 2 projectors that are putting an image on the big bubble visor in front of me, and I can take the image from that distributed aperture system and I could put it into the helmet. And so I can not only see through my airplane what that cameras are seeing, but I could see at night all the time. And so when it's, for my friends that have flown the F-18, you can tell sometimes it gets dark and scary at night, and I can put that in my helmet, and it gives me a good awareness of what's around me, and it's a little bit, allows me to be a little bit more safe when I'm flying on the really, really dark nights, or when I used to. I don't anymore. And we have data links. Data links are extremely important for the battlefield today. We have 2. One of them is Link 16, which is a common data link that all of our allies and our other services use. The other one is the Multifunction Advanced Data Link, or what we call MADL, and it's an F-35 to F-35 data link. And we can share information between the airplanes. And not only can we share that information, we can task other airplanes, or when I say we, I mean the computer, the airplane, can task the other airplanes to find pieces of information it needs to target things in either the air or on the ground. And all of that is made possible by what we call fusion. And fusion is really the magic of this airplane. No other airplane has anything like it. I take it back. The Raptor has something like it, but the fusion that we have is far more advanced. What fusion does is, you may think that you have all of those sensors and all of those things looking around in the air and on the ground. How do I make sense of all that? You must be pretty smart. And my wife will tell you that I'm not. I'm living proof that you don't have to have high grades or do well in math to be a pilot. You just have to be good at throwing and catching a football. And what fusion does is it takes all of those tracks and it puts them together smartly, and it puts one icon on the big glass display in front of me, so that as I'm looking at that God's eye view of the battle space, I can decide what is a target, what is a friendly, what do I need to pay more attention to, what do I not need to pay more attention to, and I can make decisions faster. So all that to say is that now I have all of this information coming into my cockpit that's brought to me in a very sensible fashion that allows me to make fast decisions, and I am a low observable airplane, and I'm denying the enemy to make decisions, and it gives me that advantage, that first strike, first kill advantage. Okay. All right, here's a question. How do you know there's a fighter pilot in the room? They're going to tell you. So am him. So let me, at the risk of sounding very arrogant, I'm going to talk about myself for just a second. So, but I'll tell you why it's important, really. So that's the big fishbowl I was telling you about in the picture on the far left. That's actually me. It's a very ugly picture of me, but at the end of the day, what I'll tell you is that I was one of the first group to fly the airplane. And why that's important is that when I got selected, I went down to Eglin Air Force Base and I was in a room of about 20 other pilots, some that flew the F-18, some flew the F-16, the F-15, from across the Air Force and the Marine Corps and the Navy. And we sat down and we thought about how are we going to develop this airplane? How are we going to teach this airplane? And how are we going to build a culture? And when I say that I was Lightning 9.6, why I think that's why I bring that up and why I look at that number is because as I see this program progress through the years and I watch what a small amount of pilots got together and, sometimes it was contentious, sometimes it was a little punchy between all of us, but the community that we built that is now expanded out to our international partners and allies is truly what I think is one of the things that's most impressive. I did 2 tours in our training squadron. Those are reflected in the patches down at the bottom. That's Marine Fighter Attack Squadron, Fighter Attack Training Squadron 501 on the East Coast. Then I was fortunate enough to be the commanding officer of Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 121 in Yuma, Arizona, which was the first operational F-35 squadron in the world. So a lot of extra attention that I didn't care to have, but unfortunately it was there. The cool thing about that was once we declared operational capability, we then deployed the airplane forward to Japan. And the middle picture is actually me after about an 11-hour Trans-Pacific flight in the cockpit, where I was just praying to not run off the runway because I was so tired and I hadn't eaten in a long time. So it was a cool picture, but not a fun time in the cockpit. And in fact, the funny story is the helmet bag that I have sitting there, as soon as I landed, the helmet bag shot forward and knocked the throttle forward. So as I was trying to go to idle, I ended up going back to full power for a second. So it almost got a little bit more silly than I wanted it to be. So when I describe the F-35, I use these terms. I use lethal, I use survivable, and I use interoperable. Lethal, because what we talked about is that the stealth of the airplane and the advanced avionics and the advanced sensors of the airplane allow you access and awareness that you never had before and that no one else has on that battle space. Even in places right now where we say in Yemen, where we call rebels, those rebels are very sophisticated. They are well funded and they have very, very, to keep this room unclassified, I'll say very sophisticated weapons. And so the stealth that is on this airplane is almost a ticket to the dance if you want to fly in those environments. You need it to perform and do your mission. Okay, I'll go to survivable. I think I'm getting close on time. I'll have to pick this up. Survivable, again, we talked about denying the enemy to target this airplane, but what it also is the fact that because we have so many airplanes, because we have a dispersed logistics system throughout the world, we're actually able to fly and maintain this airplane in all types of places throughout the world. And in the case, and I'll brag on the Stovall model, I can land in places that most other airplanes can't land. I'm not scared at a short runway. I'm not scared at an unimproved runway. The airplane was built for it, and it does it extremely well, and we've proven it time and time again. And last thing, what I'll say is one of the greatest things about the airplane is it's interoperable. And that last picture is one of my last exercises in my last deployment. It was to Norway for an exercise where we flew with US F-35s, Norwegian F-35s, UK F-35s, F-18s from the US, from Finland, and Gripens from Sweden. And you'd think if anybody who's flown in a large force exercise will tell you usually day one, night one is an absolute disaster. People are off their altitudes. It's dangerous. It's like you're not talking to anybody. No one's on the right radio frequency. And what I'm here to tell you is day one, night one on that exercise, all of those other countries operating the same airplane and similar airplanes, all on data links, all briefing and flying at a different location, were perfectly where they needed to be to execute the mission on day one and night one. And what that tells you is that this airplane, unlike any others, dispersed with our partners and allies, is an absolute force multiplier. And I've seen it happen. Okay, I'm going to go to faster, funnier. All right. What I'll say is that this is a map. I talked about all the different places flying the airplane, and you can see all those little chiclets for all the countries and all their bases. It's by 2030, so it is a little bit out in front, but what I will also tell you that by 2030, there'll be over 300 F-35s operating in the Pacific, and that doesn't include any that are flying out of our CONUS bases of San Diego and Yuma or Lemoore, California. There'll be 700 in Europe, the majority of which are not US. And that's to tell you that that's the kind of deterrence that this airplane brings. And I can tell you that, from the time that I landed in Japan, or when I landed in Japan, there were probably, outside of Iwakuni, Japan, there was a helicopter that wasn't talking to anybody, that was filming my landing, and there were probably 100 boats in the bay that were either watching me or looking around to see what I was doing. And it's because our enemies take notice of when this airplane is around. Okay, now I'm going to get to the part where I'm maybe not so comfortable, but just bear with me. So I'm going to talk about economic impact. So this is truly a global aircraft like we talked about. There are numerous components that are made outside the US, but I want to focus on US just for a second. We have over 1,900 first-tier suppliers, which means that they produce something directly for the jet. In 49 states, the only one is Hawaii, and maybe one day we'll move there and I can help that out. So, and even in Puerto Rico. There's 290,000 jobs across the US, both directly or indirectly supporting this program for either production, development, or sustainment of the jet. And it generates about $72 billion annually for the United States. Let's bring it home to Texas here. We have several Lockheed installations here in the Fort Worth area. Of course, I talked about Air Force Plant 4 quite a bit. There's also several other, there's a section over on Beach Street that helps us out. And there's also an Air Force Reserve component flying F-35s out of the Joint Reserve Base. So here's a little fun fact. If you see 2 or 4 or 6 airplanes flying, that's generally the airmen that are flying those airplanes out of the JRB. If you see a single, it's usually one of our company flights or our test flights that's checking out the airplane. So there's a little bit of tidbit for you. You can next time you see that, you can point that out and people will be impressed. But nearly $10 billion annual impact to Texas and nearly 50,000 jobs. I'm going to bring it home here to Fort Worth. It's the aviation defense capital of Texas, truly is. Almost 20,000 employees at Air Force Plant 4, which is impressive. 13 Lockheed Martin facilities in the greater Fort Worth area, 171 local suppliers, but a $1.2 billion impact for our suppliers, which I think is extremely important. And again, delivering 191 airplanes from 2025. And again, not all of those came from Fort Worth, but the vast majority of them came from Fort Worth. And those are men and women just like us. Those are our friends and our neighbors that are banking those airplanes. And the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce will tell you that that overall $7 billion in annual economic benefit to the Fort Worth area. So quite a bit here for this airplane. And I'm going to close by offering a couple things, and I'll wrap this up, and I'll take a couple questions in the 3 minutes and 54 seconds I have. It's probably not hard to find criticism of this airplane. You just have to open the news, and there's probably somebody that's going to grind against how expensive it is or how we're behind timeline or something like that. But here's what I'll tell you, and I'll tell you this in an unclassified forum, that these jets made by our friends and our neighbors here in Fort Worth in this great city, as we speak, are playing a pivotal role in our national security and that of our partners and allies. In every operation recently that you've read about in the news and some that you haven't read about in the news, the men and women that are flying and maintaining this airplane are involved in, and this airplane is making a critical role to all of those missions. And again, I apologize for keeping it unclassified, but I could tell you if I could up that, I would tell you that the impact that this airplane is making is significant in many, many ways. And if you ask me today, I'm sure if you asked any pilot that's flying the airplane, certainly my friends that are still are, and they'll tell you there's a lot of great fighters out there, there truly is. But there's no other airplane that I would go to war in today. And I could tell you that if my son or daughter decided they were going to join and fly jets like their old man, I tell them there's no other airplane that I want them to be in, because that's the airplane that's going to bring them home safe. So with that, I'll take any of your questions. All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Primary difference between the F-35 and the F-22?
Well, the F-22 is not as good. It's got 2 engines. No, the F-22 was built specifically for air superiority, so it is a single mission airplane, or was built as a single mission airplane. They do have some air-to-surface capabilities, meaning that they can carry some air-to-surface weapons and employ them, but it's not quite it's not as seamless as our airplane. Our airplane was built from the ground up to be multi-mission. So not only can we do air-to-air missions, and I'm not going to claim that we're as fast or fly as high or do, carry as many weapons as the Raptor. The Raptor is a fantastic airplane, it really is. But our sensors are more advanced. We get more information into the airplane, and we also pass information outside of the airplane much, much more efficiently. I will also tell you that this airplane is really specialized for a mission that we call Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses, or SEAD. And there's no other airplane like it right now. The F-16 was fantastic at that mission, and we have taken over as the prime airplane to do that mission. And those, well, I'll leave it at that just to keep myself out of trouble here, and they won't. But the Raptor is a fantastic airplane, and I think everybody will tell you that. So, go ahead, sir.
Appreciate what you do and what you've done, as well as the sacrifice your wife's made for all of us. But we all want to know the call sign.
Yeah, I figured that was going to come up. Okay, despite the fact that I love Texas barbecue, and now I'm a little bit more hefty than I probably was when I left the military. So I was a young lieutenant. I showed up to my first squadron, and if you know this individual, don't tell him I was talking about him. But there was my commanding officer. I was a first lieutenant, I think. My first Harrier squadron, and I show up, and it's right in the fall time, and my commanding officer said, "Who's my junior most single Marine?" And of course, it was me. So he said, "Well, you're going to go to the Marine Corps ball with my daughter," which was extremely uncomfortable. She was a college student at Eastern Carolina University at the time. So now I'm at the head table. My wife knows the story, so nothing is a surprise. This is not the CEO's daughter. So I'm at the head table now with the CEO, his wife, and his college-age daughter. I'm trying to eat with the right fork and say the right things. And so now with the part where people dance at the ball happens, and I'm on my best behavior, and they leave, and a couple weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's the CEO's daughter, which is very weird. And I said, just out of curiosity, how did you get my number? Because I don't remember giving it to you. I was a complete gentleman. And she's like, well, my dad gave it to me off the roster. So I thought that was a little awkward. And so all my friends, because she was a college student, my friends were in rural North Carolina where Cherry Point is. They all want to go up and hang out with all the college girls. And of course, I'm with the CEO's daughter. And at that point, and so he was a short, fat guy like Papa Smurf. His call sign was Smurf. And so there are large pictures of Hefty Smurf and Smurfette appeared all over the squadron. And even to this day, on one of my helmets, I have a little Hefty Smurf on one of my helmets. So it's a PG story. It's not anything that I wouldn't tell my children or certainly tell my wife. But yeah, that's how. Okay, 10 seconds. Yes, sir.
So what about all this news about these advanced fighters coming out of China?
Yeah, so China makes great airplanes, and I won't. I'm not going to lie to you to say that we're not stressed with what is being produced, but we still make the best airplanes out there. They still have some time to catch up, but we need to be on our toes, and we need to make sure that not only we continue to evolve our technology and make sure that it exceeds that, but we also need to make sure that we're the best trained, and we always have been. There always has been good airplanes that may not be as good as ours, but are we'll call it the 50 to 60% mark. But what truly sets us apart is our ability to train effectively with our partners and allies, train effectively amongst the joint force, and that is really what sets us apart. So we all cautiously watch China and their development. We are still confident that we make the best airplanes, and we certainly turn out the best pilots. So. That's my answer. So, and there's the hook. So I'll stick around if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Tyler. I just have one word. Wow. We appreciate you sharing your stories with us today. It's a tradition of the Rotary Club of Fort Worth to make a contribution in your honor to Rotary International's Polio Plus program. Rotarians have been assisting the fight against polio for over 38 years, providing 3 billion immunization to children around the world. Thank you again for being here and for what you're doing for our country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. and that's why we belong to Rotary. As we close today, I have information about 3 meetings to share with you. First, the program committee meeting will be in the Rotary office on the 3rd floor. Second, International Committee meeting will be in the Imperial Room on the 12th floor. And third, the Veterans Committee meeting will be in the Governor's Room, also on the 12th floor. So that's program in the Rotary office, International in Imperial, and Veterans in the Governor's. And for all of you runners, the Cowtown 5K race is coming up on February 28th, and we have a new timer here, and I've just been given the hook. So what can I say? If you want to be part of the Rotary team, please see Russell Jacobson afterwards, and he can give you more information. Valentine's Day is next week, and we would love to see you at Rotary on Friday to welcome our speaker, Richard Andreski, the CEO of Trinity Metro. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Our meeting is adjourned.